Here's my audience. Hi, my name is Clay Francisco, and today I'm going to be doing an informative speech on my birth month, April of 1997. So I thought this project was really cool. This speech is really cool to research for because I learned a lot about obviously the time that I was born and kind of things that were going on around when I didn't really know what it was before. These were things that I realized I could still relate to today and things that I still listen to or watch or have heard of today or can reference a lot. So it was kind of cool to do this research project and learn more about when I was born and what was going on then. So to start out, I would like to dive into the entertainment world. We'll be looking at the entertainment world, news world, like current event kind of stuff, the political leaders at the time, and my favorite is sports, which we'll get to at the end. But to start with the entertainment world, a lot of people know about Crocodile Hunter, Steve Irwin, the dude with the Australian accent. He actually made his debut for the first time, which is really cool because I've seen it a couple times. My brothers watched it a lot when they were kids, that kind of thing. My parents have seen it. Obviously, it gets referenced all the time when people are out in the woods doing stupid stuff. So it's kind of cool to see that came out around the time, in the month that I was born, which is really cool. Also, Howard Stern, a former judge on America's Got Talent, did a radio tour around some different cities in the United States, Fort Myers, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Twin Cities, and Minneapolis and St. Paul and Minnesota. So that's pretty cool. It was one of the first radio tours that was ever done. Like, think about it, 20 years ago, 1997, Howard Stern's on the radio doing a live show. Pretty cool time. One of my favorite things in the entertainment world was Titanic opened up in New York City, which I had no idea it opened in 1997. Obviously, I've seen it a few times on DVD, VHS, and just on TV. So that was kind of cool to see that came out in that time and just really see how far technology has come since then, because that's 20 years old now. And then we have movies now that are obviously way advanced in technology in the way that we film and produce media production. So it's really cool to see that. Jekyll and Hyde was a name that I recognize. Haven't really seen that show. Opened in Plymouth Theater in April of 1997, which is really cool to see. One of my favorite parts of the entertainment world that I saw, though, that I thought was really astonishing, was Ellen DeGeneres openly admitted that she was gay to the public. 42 million people were watching at this time. And it's different to see how 20 years has gone by now, and we've still had a lot of issues surrounding homosexuality and that sort of thing. But to see that she did this 20 years ago, it's kind of cool, and it kind of shows you how courageous Ellen DeGeneres really is. One of my favorite tennis players, Andre Agassi, married Brooke Shields during this time, an actor. So that was kind of cool. Celebrities still obviously pairing up with each other and getting married and spend the rest of their life together. Tomoyuki Tanaka, the producer of Godzilla, passed away during this time. Some popular films during the time, obviously Titanic, but then there was also Jurassic Park, The Lost World, which I've seen many times, Men in Black, which I've seen many times, Liar Liar, which starred one of my favorite actors or comedians of all time, really, Jim Carrey, such a great movie, and then finally the classic Batman and Robin. Popular music at the time was Mariah Carey, great vocals, Smashing Pumpkins, The Verve, Foo Fighters, Daft Punk, Radiohead, all bands that I still listen to and look up on Spotify continually. Celine Dion, don't listen to her as much, but definitely a name you can recognize. And finally Garth Brooks, which I 20 minutes ago heard on the way home from work. So that's pretty cool to see that that's still current and around, and 20 years later, good for him. Good for you, Garth. Some current news during this time. Healthcare and tobacco reached an agreement that tobacco discrepancies would be covered by healthcare. And that's kind of cool to see this because tobacco use was at a very high use back in that day and age. I think more than it is now. I'd have to check that. But it's really cool to see that that was starting to be covered then. And then obviously with healthcare now it's covered, and to see how things grow and change and kind of roll, how things started out in the first place back 20 years ago. So I think with a lot of the good things that we look at in entertainment and like sports and politics, maybe not always good surrounding politics, but all the good things we look at, we still miss out on the tragedies that happen. So we look back, and I think it's good to still look back and pay your respects in that capacity to the tragedies. So a tornado touched down in Texas that killed 27 people, unfortunately. And there was also floods during this time in North Dakota, just in this 1 month. So a pretty tragic time, actually, for those two states and obviously those families surrounding it. So you can feel bad for them and be sympathetic towards that. Microsoft, on the other hand, was worth $261 billion at this time, which is an unreal amount of money today, let alone 20 years ago when inflation is on the rise and all sorts of things happening with the economy. So that's incredible. Just a few tidbits for you. Average cost of a new house was $124,000. Average yearly income was about $37,000. And a gallon of gas costs $1.22. Oh, that would be incredible if that was still like that today. But unfortunately, it's not. But life goes on. You still maintain. One other cool thing, not in the U.S., but Big Ben, the huge clock in London, stopped ticking for like an hour during April 1997. And I don't know if they ever figured out why, but it did. In politics at the time, Bill Clinton was the current president, so obviously a name that a lot of people recognize, especially with the recent election. One of his partners, McDougal, was charged with embezzlement, so this was a scandal which seemed to be a trend during this presidency, but that's okay. And then finally, the Senate approved a chemical weapon treaty. So I thought that was kind of cool, especially with chemical weapons. I don't know how advanced they were back then, but especially today on the rise, I think it's good that a treaty was something that they covered back then. In the sports world, personally, my favorite topic, love going back and looking and just seeing where this was at that time, like what the firsts of that time were. So opposing pitchers, for the first time, hit home runs in a game. Carlos Perez and Darren Holmes, which is really cool. Really rare for a pitcher to hit a home run, let alone two pitchers in the same day, let alone in the same game. So really a lot of factors in that one, but it was really cool. In Major League Soccer, they expanded to Chicago and Miami, which is pretty cool, and they've added like 10 more cities since then, so you can see MLS is still on the rise. Tiger Woods, one of my favorite golfers to watch, and I still watch his highlights a lot. Won his first Masters at age 21, so that's incredible. Jackie Robinson's number 42 was retired for all of Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson was the first Major League Baseball player as a Negro, and so that's really cool to see that happened for the first time, that it was retired then, and we still have Jackie Robinson Day in the MLB today, which is really cool. First Major League Baseball game was played on Hawaiian soil, which is pretty cool. There still isn't a franchise in Hawaii, but you'd like to see that change in the future maybe. Maybe that's something that's in the plans. And then finally, Mike Tyson bit off his opponent's ear in a boxing match during this time. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that were going on, a lot of things that I could relate to, which is really cool. But yeah, it's cool to go back and do research, and I encourage you guys to do the same. Go back, look at your birth month, look at when your parents were born, that kind of thing. It's just cool to go back and live during that time and see what you can relate to. Thank you for watching.